Okay, so I bit my tongue on the Platner situation. I wanted to see, what evidence there was and what this was all about. But ultimately, I knew that when I first looked into Platner, and I was like, not my cup of tea as a person. Like, I don't like pew pews. I'm not a sports guy. I'm not an adrenaline, testosterone junkie. Like, that's not me, And, like, I kind of like to watch first person pew pew games. Um, but what I'm looking at when I watch that, say on Twitch, or, I have someone in the household that, wants to play a game or something, and I sit there and I watch it, what I'm looking at is the technology and the capabilities and like what the interface with the person and how like it affects people with ADD and how they can focus on all these different things at once within the rubric of the game and how interesting that is. But as far as like the actual like violence and those kind of things, like I could care less. Like like and like even like with like say gore movies, like Friday the 13th and stuff like that. I'm way more interested in like the technicality of it and how the technical realism of it than I am the like um, I don't know, the polemic of it. It's like there's no message there. It's just like a technical skill. It's kind of like watching a classic guitarist. You know what I mean? It's they don't necessarily play the catchiest of tunes, um, but I'm interested in the technical skill of it. Well, um, anyway, so back to Platner. Like I could admire maybe his technical skill in those arenas and how like that type of bravery might, you know, come over into the political field. And so that's a positive on that side. But as far as like being a womanizing drunkard and those kind of things, like yeah, I don't that doesn't impress me. Now, but putting that aside, because I don't really care about that. As I've said in previous videos, I don't care if the representative is a drunken baboon, just as long as that drunken baboon pulls the lever for the policies I want. Because at the end of the day, this is about the policies. And the reason why this Oppo research happened was because of the policies. If he was a corporate Dem, if he was a Republican, this Oppo research would not have been done. Um, Now, I don't want to say that she's a liar. Um, I don't know, and the reason why I don't know is because this was not adjudicated in a court of law. But on the Republican side, even if it was adjudicated in a court of law, and he were to be found liable in at least civil court, if he was Republican, he could still be president. There'd be no problem, right? Um, but there is a lack of physical evidence here. There is some like circumstantial evidence, maybe, kinda, if you kind of squint really hard. um but hey, that's the problem with representative democracy. That's why we need to scrap representative democracy, because there's always going to be this mammalian uh flawed representative and standing between us and our policies that can always be oppo researched away. And so, like, the only way that you can live like a totally squeaky clean life that, nobody can find any objection with is to live an exceptional life of basically exceptional wealth where you can just buy your way out of any trouble you might find yourself in, and keep your record clean. Like, the reason why, rich kids don't get DUIs, well, because they have chauffeurs. You know what I mean? It's like, uh, it's not because they're not, you know, womanizing drunkards themselves. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. And so this whole character flaw thing is the thing that stands between us and the policies you want. They took out Edwards in the primary against Obama. And at the time, I was like, look, Obama's just too conservative. And people were like, well, what do you mean conservative? He's black. How can he be conservative? And I'm like, yeah, public option, maybe, kinda, if the Republicans will compromise to that position, like, and hope and change, but no, like, real specific policies, yeah, no, like, you know, Edwards has the policies that I want. He's actually talking about, universal public goods and things. Oh, well, but he had an affair, so he's out. Had an affair. No more Edwards. Policy's gone because they were represented by a mammal. So there you go. You know, um, and so when Graham came out strong and said, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to tax billionaires and use that money to provide universal public goods. I'm like, okay, well, he's out. Like there's no way he's. And then he wins the primary, and it's like, okay, well, maybe there's something to this, but they got to take him out some way. There's going to be some way they're going to get this guy out of there. I mean, they're trying everything. They're still running the lame duck who lost the primary. I mean, they're like they're pulling out all the stops, like not just the Republicans but also the Democrats. Like there's no way they're going to find something. They're going to do something. They're going to take this guy out one way or another, by hook or by crook. Maybe even by pew pew, I don't know, but somehow he's saying it like did I hear you right? And I listen again, I'm like, he's actually saying that. Okay, they're going to take him out. And then especially because like I say, like his personality is not particularly my cup of tea, but I know it does appeal to the manosphere, and I know it does appeal to the general public. And so, hey, if he's going to be the messenger, if he's going to get my policies into power, implemented, into my life, well, then let him be the vehicle. I don't care, but yeah, so, I mean, if these allegations are true, which again, I have no reason to doubt, but I have no reason to believe because they were not adjudicated, then that's pretty damning. And if he knew of this in advance, and he knew that this was going to be the thing that was going to take him out ultimately, but he campaigned anyway, if that is the case, well, then obviously he's a psyops from the military. But yeah, like, they don't care about the man. They only care about the policy. I only care about the policy. Let's get rid of representative democracy. Let's go direct democracy. Let's vote directly on the policies that we want without this mammalian, imperfect representative between us and the policies that we want, so that we can actually govern ourselves for the first time in human history, right? And you may say, well, you can't do that because people are too ignorant. Well, universal education would take care of that, now wouldn't it? Oh, but, people are too busy working. Well, humanoid robots and AI would take care of that, won't it? If we can get down to, say, like a 10-hour work week, you don't think we could all, like, just read the great books of history and show up to the meetings to govern ourselves? There's always one excuse after another as to the reason why we, the people, can't govern ourselves and have the policies that we actually want. And justice delayed is justice denied. And it's always like, oh yeah, well, maybe someday. No, fuck that. We're going to get universal public goods paid for by confiscatory wealth tax, come hell or high water, one way or another, by hook or by crook, because an unexamined life isn't worth living. Give me liberty or give me death.